In this lesson, I will take you through some very basic hand positions and strokes. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually, um, in deference to, again, the above mentioned Miroslav Karlovic, who is still my favorite teacher, especially when it comes to technical matters. The first thing we should all do, even if we've been playing the drums for a while, is test our ability to create a full range of motion with our wrists. So this comes down to actually tightening the grip, which you would never do when you're playing, but just for this exercise, tightening the grip to the point where there's no movement of the stick inside the hand. You don't have to tighten terribly tight, but so long as the fingers are touching your palm and not letting up on that, you'll know that it's tight enough. And so what we do then is we do full range wrist strokes. The idea is this way we're promoting the flexibility of the wrist as well as getting some strength into our forearms. So again, as I said, I would never hold the stick in the way where it doesn't have any room to play inside the hand, but for this exercise, it's just really important because if you let the fingers open up, then you're not able to get this range of wrist motion, and you're definitely not working with the forearms the way you would be if the fingers are closed. So from here on in, we move to some very basic strokes. So the first stroke that I want to show is what they call a full stroke. And the reason it's called a full stroke is because it's kind of an exaggerated stroke, especially when I'm demonstrating it. But the idea of a full stroke is that you're utilizing both the range of your wrist as well as the movement of the fingers. So a full stroke is basically a stroke that begins with the wrist cocked all the way up, so your stick is perpendicular to the floor, and then you use your fingers as well as your wrist to direct the stick towards your playing surface. Once again, when you're practicing these things, insisting on a full range of motion is a really good idea. Eventually, you probably won't be playing from a position that's all the way up here, but just, again, to promote the flexibility of the wrist and to get some strength and feeling into the forearm, getting the full range of motion would be a very good idea. So the next stroke I wanted to show and demonstrate would be a tap stroke. Now the tap stroke is very similar to a full stroke. The difference being is that with a full stroke, you're actually aiming to finish in the start position, whereas with a tap, your aim is the exact opposite. You are aiming to end your stroke maybe an inch away from the head, or even less. So the idea is the same, still using wrists and fingers. Instead of the full stroke idea, where I actually come back to my starting position, with a tap stroke, my stroke ends right above the surface of the drum. So the next stroke I wanted to show, and this will be very applicable to flams, is the upstroke. So if you think of a flam, what the grace note hand is doing is, in effect, an upstroke. So instead of playing towards the playing surface, you're actually almost a drummer in reverse. So instead of hitting down, I'm hitting up. So if you look at my grace note hand, its attack is actually on the way up. And there's only one more stroke that I want to talk about, and this one is crucial It's also sort of a litmus test for the seriousness of the student. It's counterintuitive. All of these that I've shown so far are much easier to understand, I think, and to master than the rebound stroke. But the rebound stroke really, really makes a whole lot of difference in our playing. And as we move through these lessons, you'll see why. So the rebound stroke will also begin, at least when demonstrating, will begin with a cocked wrist with the stick perpendicular to the floor. But instead of being a stroke, this is actually letting the wrist down without actually directing the wrist towards the playing surface, and the fingers just simply opening up. And what will happen at the tail end of this is my wrist and fingers will be in a down position, but because of the rebound, my stick finds itself back to where it began. So it's counterintuitive in the sense that while all of your body, or in this case at least, not the whole body, but the body parts that are included, the fingers and the wrists, are actually pointing down, the stick has rebounded back to its starting position. And this is extremely important when it comes to creating a double stroke. So essentially, a good double stroke roll is a combination of the rebound stroke and the snap back up stroke. Combine it, when we do it with two hands. We get something that sounds like a very nice, even double stroke roll. Let's keep moving forward.